Welcome back, everyone, to Season 3, Episode 2 of the Northeast Project podcast. My name is Kieran. I'm joined here by Will. How you doing, Will?
Not too bad. Thank you for telling me your name. I didn't know otherwise.
So we're off, both smiling with happy faces off the back of Manchester. So we want to do a marathon special podcast talking about this marathon season. For everyone who had success and learned stuff from Manchester, and with Boston coming up, with Edinburgh, with Milton Keynes, Southampton Marathon. It's going to be a busy couple of weeks ahead, and we just wanted to share an insight into our marathon blog, what we achieved, what we can teach you guys. We've got 3 special guests on the show as well. We've got Maddy Fisher, we got Chris Burton, and we got Lindsey Blackburn. Maddy did Manchester, so she talks about her amazing success of running 3:19. Chris is targeting Edinburgh, so he's still got 6 weeks, so he's in the depth of training. See what insight he can give into that. We've got Lindsey, who's doing Boston Marathon here in the UK. We do have athletes doing the USA as well. So we are everywhere. But Lindsey's doing her first road marathon as she heads into the British Transplant Games. So lots to come on it. First up, we're going to talk about what we did, myself and Will. How you doing this week, Will? After your amazing 2:17:53 at Manchester.
I'm doing all right now. I was a bit of a broken man Monday, Tuesday, but feeling a lot fresher now. It's Friday. Haven't run since, which was probably a good call for me. But yeah, doing all right. What about yourself, mate? I know you've run, so.
Yeah, like I don't have a coach, so I sort of a bit of a rebel and do what I want. But yeah, I've been out for a few runs. Felt a lot better than I did after the last marathon, did in October. So yeah, obviously the training works, the conditioning works, and you can bounce back.
Absolutely.
That time, Will, 2:17:53 for a debut. Very, very impressive.
We'll take it. Well, I can't not take it, but yeah. I'm pretty happy with it. Considering the build-up I had, where there was lots of ups and downs, it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
So,
do you want to roll it back then? So, what made you target a marathon this time around? When did you decide that?
The plan of my life was never to run a marathon at 24. I was asked a few times when I first started running, when are you going to run a marathon? Mainly because people always seem to think you're not a runner unless you run a marathon. So, but in the back of my mind was, you don't really run your best marathons until late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s. Kipchoge says he's 36, but he's probably like 45 to be honest. But so it was kind of, I won't do one. And then COVID, everything got pushed back. Euros and commies and world champs all the same year. So there's a lot of vests up for grabs. I'd run a decent half at Great North.
I don't think our listeners heard enough about the Great North very well, so you might have to fill them in.
Yeah, I did Great North and ran 64:58, which debut half, the only half I've done as well. So I was pretty happy with that one.
Pretty good debut.
Yeah. I'm only ever going to run one marathon. I'll just keep going up the distance. But yeah, it was like, if everything goes to plan, and I have an exceptional day, it might be on the cards. So, and that will never happen again. Those 3 will never line up like that again. It was just the way it was because of the pandemic. So, chance are on to see what happens. But yeah, that was mainly the reason I did it.
Yeah, and that target being 2:14:30, was it?
Yeah. Oh well, 2:14:30. Yeah, because that was the Euros, and then for some reason the commies was quicker at 2:14 flat. But
yeah,
it's almost like they didn't want to take somebody.
Yeah. So yeah.
What about yourself, mate? Why are you running marathons now at 23?
Because I'm rubbish at every other distance. But likewise in COVID, I needed a big goal, and I always knew I wasn't going to be the fastest over 5K, 10K. I never liked doing the distances you were supposed to do as a junior. So as soon as I could do a road race of 10K, I think I was 15. And I loved doing 10Ks and above. I think I ran my first half when I was 17, the first time I did. I just wanted to run long because I enjoy running miles. Yeah, like in COVID, I needed a big goal. I mean, everyone either got fit or fat, didn't we? So I spent a lot of time running. So the first time I started running 100-mile weeks back to back because I had nothing else to do. And the NEP was in its early stages, so that was building at the same time. But yeah, decided on a marathon. Originally, just after a lockdown, we did a marathon at NEP around the industrial estate. I tried to anyway. I got to 20 miles and realised things happen at 20 miles in a marathon, and stopped, and that was it. So that was my first marathon attempt. Then I did Manchester.
You didn't see it through to the end. You stopped at 20.
No, I stopped because I was 2 minutes per mile slower than I was a mile ago, so it wasn't really worth carrying on. Quite a harsh experience. I did Manchester in October again. So my first official marathon in Manchester, and then sort of lost 6 minutes, last 4 miles of that one. So I had a bit of a negative look at the marathon really, and I don't like getting beat, so I wanted to prove a point again.
You still had a solid time though, your first marathon at Manchester.
Yeah. So 2:25, but knew there was problems, and I had to work a lot harder and change a lot of things in my life to if I was going to run under that 2:20, which was a lifetime ambition probably 18 months ago.
And you've done it at 23.
Yeah, exactly. So now we got to aim higher. But,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So describe your block, Will. Like, what we want to get into the science of it. We want to get sharing what we actually do as athletes to run sub 2:20 marathons. People want to know. Been stalking on Strava. They want to know what we're doing and why we're doing it. And
yeah,
like describe your block, Will.
Describe the block. I think most weeks during the marathon block, there'd be either a big specific marathon session at the weekend or a long run. We're talking like 20 plus miles of volume. Not quite getting up to the well, actually no, there was one day it was 30 plus, but so a big marathon session the weekend and then speed workout midweek. That was going to be important for me because I lose my speed very quickly. So trying to maintain as much of that as possible. So that was that. And then probably like just a lot of easy and steady runnings midweek, just to kind of tick over, but also just, keeping the legs moving. But then you realize that easy running during a marathon block has to be easy. Otherwise you lose straight away. It's not like training for 5-10K where you can get away with just making it a bit sharp because...
What pace do you run, Will? What pace do you run for your easy runs?
Still too fast. About 6:50 to 7:10s per mile.
Yeah. And what's your marathon pace?
5:15.
Yeah.
So talking a good minute 40.
Yeah.
Yeah, minute 50. So
do we hear that, everyone? Minute 40 difference at least. Yeah. And you're saying you're doing it too fast, so.
Yeah. Well, it needs to be really easy. When you're doing your easy runs, they're not for fitness. Not really. They're just to keep you moving and keep it, because active recovery helps more than just sitting down and doing nothing all day. So
yeah, I'm probably the same. But my easy runs got slower over the marathon block. Probably like 30-40 seconds a mile slower than if I was doing even half train. You feel like pure crap on an easy run. I did anyway. I never enjoyed one easy run for 20 weeks.
Yeah, they were the ones I dreaded. Like I had least motivation for was just going out and doing 30-40 minutes rather than doing a massive 30K a marathon pace. I prefer doing that.
Yeah. Have you got any peak sessions that you did in the marathon block that you want to share? Like anything that you thought was a marathon maker, as I like to call
them? I think obviously my big session where I did 30K at marathon pace on the track.
Yeah. On the track. Wow. Yeah. How many laps?
75 laps.
75 laps of the track. Did you change direction?
No. Well, no, you don't have time to. You just got to keep moving in one direction, mate. But I tell you what, that was mentally and probably towards the end of the race as physically as hard as running the marathon.
I can imagine.
Yeah. No change of scenery or anything. And you just keep turning left. It was tough.
You do 12 laps, you've done 5K. How are you feeling?
not great. But I don't know about you. Like when you're running marathon pace, the first 5K feels horrendous. And it always feels a little bit too quick. But then you kind of dial in and just keep going. Your legs just keep moving.
Yeah.
And then the other big day I had was, is it like a Canova special day?
Yeah, I remember you doing that. I thought it was insane. Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't sure I was going to get through it because I hadn't really run the whole week before, been doing a lot of cross training because I'd had niggles with my back. And it was kind of like a throw of the dice of if you get through this, we can keep going with the marathon. If you don't get through this, you might as well call it a day because you're not going to make anything special happen.
Yeah.
So in the morning, had 20K at marathon pace, so not quite as far. Tagged on park run to begin with, just to like run with some people, even though it was only for 5K. It just helped me, as we said. First 5K is hard, so got the legs ticking over. Jogged home as like tried to finish as close to home as possible, so I didn't have to jog very far to cool down. Had tons to eat, and then in the evening left it as late as possible as I could, and I did on the treadmill as well, just in case back completely seized up, I could jump on the bike and try and salvage something. But I did another 10K just off marathon pace, and then 10 by 3 minutes,
Wow.
just above marathon pace.
Yeah. So that's over 40K of work in one day at marathon pace or faster.
Yeah.
Which is insane. That's an insane session. It's insane.
Yeah. I think it worked out as like a 33, 34 mile day.
That's massive.
That's huge, yeah.
That's massive. Yeah. The only thing similar I did to that, I did a double threshold day, like an Ingebrigtsen style thing. I only did it once, but I think it's something that I would incorporate in this next vlog. I did a threshold session in the morning, 8-mile tempo on hills, and then like 5 pace or something, very heavy. And then on the evening, probably about 6 hours later, did another 8-mile tempo, finishing a bit faster, but on a flat, like sub 5. It's the only time I've ever done that, but quite a big thing. Obviously, the Ingebrigtsen's starting to creep into a lot of the elite programs.
Yeah, they seem to do loads of double session days like that, don't they?
Yeah. We want to try it out in the next vlog, definitely.
Do you think that was a good amount of distance to do and good speed to do it at? So you obviously did yours quick at the marathon pace, and your session was shorter, whereas mine was a lot bigger, but slow actual marathon specific pace.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the week, the context of the week. I probably did. It was on a Thursday, so I would have done a Tuesday track session. 15 miles on Wednesday, easy. And I reckon on the weekend, on Sunday, I probably had something marathon specific or long run easy distance. So it was sort of in the middle of a big week.
That's fair.
So, 30 block, well, what sort of mileage were you hitting, averaging in your biggest weeks?
When I wasn't injured or niggly, probably around 85 to 90.
Yeah.
Got a few of those down towards the end, which was good. But yeah, it's still 30, 40 miles off you, which seems nuts. But
yeah. What was that? Was that the biggest mileage you've done back to back ever?
For that period of like consistently for that length of time, yeah. But when I did my half training, it was kind of the same weekly volume, but marathon training is just a different ballgame because it's a lot longer, because there's a lot more double days for halves. So doing an easy run in the morning and then a session in the evening. But for the marathon, it's a lot of just single days still. So it's a lot of volume in one hit rather than spreading out across the day, which you don't think is going to make that much of a difference because the weekly mileage is the same. It's huge, huge difference. Yeah.
I think the best thing I can relate to that is the midweek long. It's the hardest run in the week. I was session Tuesday, Thursday. So Wednesday I'll do 15 with easy pace. But coming up weights on Tuesday night, it was the hardest thing for the whole block. And I did most of them with Lewis, training partner up in Newcastle. I think I just moaned on every single Wednesday we did it. it was the hardest run. I can still feel my pain right now. It was actually, I think, it's harder than the marathon at times.
Yeah, that is saying something.
Yeah.
Did you,
Yeah, like I mean,
is that something you did before, like a midweek long run?
so I progressed through the blocks really. Like my first marathon, well, the first Manchester I did, I used to do 10 miles as a midweek run, or sometimes a 7 and a 6. But this time around, it's been 15 every week on a Wednesday, just back like straight together. Yeah. And then obviously in addition to a 20 miler plus on a Sunday, sometimes with marathon pace, sometimes just easy pace. It's almost 2 long runs a week. I think that definitely helped stop the rot in the last 6 miles of this marathon.
That's good, mate. So it sounds like you did change a lot and learn a lot from your first 2 blocks to nail it for this one.
Yeah, I mean, the first one around the industrial estate, the 10th, I used to run with everyone in the club, or as close to that as possible. So I was running 5 times a day sometimes, but like lots of bits. So I was probably running 120, 130 miles a week at times, but it was quite inefficient. The intensity really wasn't there. And then the next block, I dropped it down to 100 miles a week for the first Manchester, focused on 3 hard sessions a week. In a lot of marathon pace, long run stuff, but not enough of them, I would say. But like I say, 100 miles, no more. This block has been averaging more 120 to 125 with the 3 sessions still. So with the intensity of the last block, but higher mileage, new midweek long, 15. And I probably did more runs, 15 to 20, 22 miles in the end of marathon race. And I ran 5 marathons in the build up as well. So I try to cover everything.
Yeah, what I found interesting about your block as well is the amount you raced during the block. So you had all the cross country races.
Yeah.
You did a half race. It was kind of more marathon pace, but it was still in a race situation where I think I did one 10K very early on. And I was supposed to have done a half about midway through, but Niggles put that to rest. They didn't actually start that one. But yeah, you did a lot more kind of racing situation stuff compared to me.
Yeah, for me, like it's important to be in that race scenario. You can train as much as you want, but I think when you're in a race environment, you've got to skill, you've got to develop. So I enjoy racing every 3 or 4 weeks, and I never tapered for one other than Brass Monkey. So every race was in the middle of a 100-mile week. Yeah, like I say, I think between October and April, I never dropped below 100 miles other than the week of Brass Monkey, around 70. So sustained high mileage, I would say, was with races in. When you know, like I did cross country events when I knew I wasn't 100%. But yeah, it's a good session to do, isn't it? When you're not racing 100% and targeting the air race stuff.
Yeah, because to be honest, for me doing that, I'd be worried I'd injure myself.
Yeah,
Because I can put myself in a different place in a race, like physically, than I can in a session. So I'd be worried I'd go too hard. But if it works for you,
yeah. I think big difference between us, I guess, is that I've been running probably a bit longer. So that cumulative load, I've sort of got used to it.
yeah,
You've been running 5 years, well, isn't it?
yeah, pretty much 5 years.
Yeah. I guess I've been running 13 coming up, so a bit longer. So what you're doing within 5 years, I mean, American debut at 217 in 5 years, pretty impressive.
Yeah, I would take it.
I've had longer to train.
Yeah, but you're still 23. Just because you've been training longer doesn't.
Yeah.
If you started at the age of 8 and said train for 10 years, you're still only 18. You're not going to bash a fast marathon.
True. Yeah. Everyone starts at different ages, don't they? Everyone has a different journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you could give one thing, Will, I mean, we'll get into the race soon, but if you could give like one training tip, a marathon training tip to someone who's maybe in the middle of a block right now or looking to do something in autumn for next year, is there sort of one tip that you could pass on that stands out from your stuff?
Can't really give a tip on really what to do for training because everyone is different with that and targeting different things. But probably what I think will be pretty consistent is the mental aspect of it and there are a lot of dark places during marathon training, so it's normal to want to quit and absolutely pack it in. If you're going through that, you're probably in a good place with your training, to be honest. But yeah, you will want to quit and just persist with it and keep going, because it'll be worth it in the end. Once you finish that race, you'll forget all about the horrible times and only care about the time you ran in the race. So it'd be worth it.
Yeah, I can sympathise with some dark places in the marathon, but especially training through winter as well. Like, yeah.
Not for me at all. That's why I want to do an autumn marathon at some point.
Yeah.
So I can actually train during the summer when it's nice.
Yeah. There's some tough weeks, wasn't there? But you got to get out and get it done. I always have the mantra: if I miss a session, I miss a week. I miss a week, I miss a month, sort of thing.
But yeah. But at the same time, as I found as well, is don't try and get, if you do miss sessions, because I missed a lot.
Well,
don't get hung up on it. Just ignore it, forget it, and then just keep going.
Yeah, I think I mean, like, there's a difference between adapting a session and missing a session.
Yeah.
Like missing a session with lack of motivation. I think that's what I'm sort of looking to. Yeah, I know you adapted a lot of stuff, but obviously worked out in the end.
Yeah. Got to the destination, just took a different route.
Exactly. Right, let's get into the race. So it's race morning, your first marathon. How you feeling?
Bricking it. Yeah. Just scared, more because it's just running. At the end of the day, it's just running, but it's the unknown of what you're about to get yourself in for. When everybody during the block who's run marathons says the halfway point is 20 miles, or the wheels could easily, suddenly you'll be feeling fine, and then suddenly you might just be in a world of pain and slowing down at 22, 23 miles.
Yeah.
It's not, when you haven't run it and been through it yourself and you don't know what's going to come up, like that can play in your mind a little bit, but it's just trying to stay as calm as possible.
Yeah, so on that morning it was your first, like, other than Great North, like your first marathon, obviously elite experience, being looked after. So we had to go to a pre-race meeting with me on Saturday and hand in our bottles of where we wanted to have them positioned across the course.
It was a bit surreal, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. I mean, you're in a room with people who were, ran 10 minutes faster and 2 marathon runners and, top guys who were organising the race.
And who are now off to Euro champs and Commonwealth Games and all of that. So
that's what's to come, isn't it? But I fill my bottles up in the toilet.
As if you didn't go to the briefing where you handed your bottles filled up.
Yeah. So we did that, and then in the morning it was warming up at Manchester Audi, wasn't it? And we had a nice road closed off for us, and nice indoor space to gather our thoughts.
We got so lucky we had that indoor space, because it meant we could just jump out to the start line with 5-10 minutes to go, where the wave behind us was standing there for 30-40 minutes in the cold, which would...
Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
It felt a bit smug.
Little bit. Yeah, a little bit smug. Yeah, talk about saying that first 5K was hard. That must have been really tough if you've been stood there for ages and got cold.
Yeah, definitely. The warm-up's massive, isn't it? Even the little warm-up we did. We did like a mile, didn't we? A few drills, a couple of strides. But in the end, we could walk to it 5 minutes before and just line up. Obviously, not everyone has that access.
Yeah.
Do you get into the first few miles, Will? You get into the first few miles. How are those first few miles feeling?
Feeling good. It's surprising how much easier marathon pace feels on race day than it does in a session. Like it felt like we were just on a Sunday long run. To be honest, it felt good. I don't know about you.
You did.
Yeah, it's just Sunday long run with the lads. But yeah.
A few people talking, actually, wasn't there?
There was a few people heckling Matt Kieran, yeah. I don't know how you felt about that with him going off.
I was just focused on myself, I'll be honest, but yeah.
You weren't
Someone
tempted
wants to mess up the race, they can mess up the race.
you weren't tempted to go run after him.
Definitely not.
In fairness, fair play to him for holding it on as well as he did. Like, I couldn't run off that hard and then run 2:18 low.
Amazing what he did, yeah. You beat him, but I didn't.
But yeah.
I remember getting to the city centre and things felt a lot easier in there, didn't it? So we're sort of like 5 miles in. I think we ran like a 5:04. It's like downhill, but
Yeah, but it's the crowd, wasn't it?
yeah, without a doubt. And I even said to you like,
we're gonna run too fast.
Don't get carried away. So then we still went faster.
Yeah, but I mean, I think everyone there knew who you were. I don't think anyone else got more cheers that day than you, so that probably helped a lot.
Bunch of Northeast runners running one direction, wasn't there? And quite a few shout outs.
Yeah, you got more shout outs from my girlfriend than I did as well. So.
We'll not go into that. But yeah, then we sort of like passed the start again, didn't we? So the people were hanging around there at like 10k. That's your first drink. How did you find taking the drinks off the tables?
I was just happy I managed to pick them up. I tried it 4 or 5 times during the actual marathon block and knocked over everyone and didn't pick it up. So it was a relief to actually do it on race day.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be harder to spot my bottle. I mean, my eyesight's not great, so but there actually wasn't that many bottles on the table for the elite table, was there? So you could easily get it.
Yeah, and they were way more spread out than they were making them out to sound like they were going to be.
Yeah,
it sounded like they were literally just going to be stacked next to each other, but there was a massive gap.
Yeah. How do you find like drinking and running at the same time? It become quite natural.
Yeah, drinking and getting the fluid down is fine. If I was to do it again, I'd have smaller bottles. It was a bit to actually hold and run with. But the actual getting the fluid down was absolutely fine. Yeah, didn't struggle with that. Don't know about you, but
yeah, I was conscious I had to take in a lot and drink a lot because of what's happened last couple of times. So there was a point I got a stitch at probably about 10 miles that I sort of worked through. I actually felt quite full and heavy. But yeah, I needed it.
But I think, didn't you say this is the first time? Is it the first time you've done it all on fluid? Like
I did take gels actually. I did take 3 gels, but I took a gel before the start. I think I took a gel at probably about halfway, and I took a gel with like I think about a mile to go, trying to save myself. Which obviously has no effect whatsoever, just a psychological one. I think it was just had more weight in my back pocket, so I thought, right, I'm sick of this. Let's have it.
Instead of putting it down, you decided to eat it.
Yes. Yeah. There's a logic in that. But were there any bad patches on the course throughout the route?
Probably down just after Altrincham, where you seemed to feel absolutely fine and tried to push on the pace. Yeah. But I don't know if I can't tell if it was a bad patch or just because you dropped the pace. It suddenly slightly tipping into the red just felt awful.
Yeah.
But I don't want to sound too smug, but I felt all right for pretty much all of it.
Yeah.
The photos at the finish are a bit different, but
the photos, yeah, I know. I see we not get any photos on mile 24 and 25, so I'm pleased didn't. But yeah, like you obviously you were like a metronome, and we were together up to 23, and then I think it was just like a switch for me. My quads were getting tight, so I had to thought, well, I'm either going to blow up negatively here, or I just need to back off a bit. So I think I just dropped back to 5:20s, doing a lot of 5:10 stuff. I think between mile 14 to probably 20 to 22 or something like that. And you obviously carried it on, but yeah, I just had to back off a bit and be realistic.
Is that the first time you've had like a proper group to work off?
Pretty much so. I mean, last time it was very much a solo run. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the first time I've got into a race with somebody and like set out a plan to run a specific pace like that.
Yeah.
I think that worked really well. And we're lucky to be able to do that. And
definitely.
Like that.
Yeah, it was a good group of us, wasn't it? I would say we did most of the work. But it was a good group of sub 220 guys, and we even caught a couple of people up, and then they were sort of latched onto that group, get that going on, which I was surprised with, which was their strength.
Yeah, I'm not sure I could have, like, well, probably saw in the last couple of miles where I thought I was winding up, but I wasn't at all. I was just continuing running in case I can't kick on like that. So yeah, fair play.
Yeah. I think what I really struggled on was the straight roads in the last 4 miles. When you can see that far ahead, and you know you're not moving quite as easy as you were, that seemed to have a big effect on me. Whereas around Altrincham, it was sort of twists and turns. I think that's why I probably got more confident.
Yeah, it's taking your mind off it and you're thinking about something else for a bit.
Yeah.
But talk about the finish. How like demoralizing was it? Like just seeing the clock from so far out. Not demoralizing, but I swear the pain ramped up so much quicker as soon as I could see the finish. Like it got to 100 so fast.
Yeah. That last half a mile, yeah, I can't describe pain like it. I knew I was obviously on for my goal. It's like, but I'm getting slower. Yeah, it was incredibly painful, incredibly painful. The last 20 meters, there's no pain, surprisingly. But there isn't, is there? Like, you've got a few steps. It's almost like the world stops and you've done it.
And then I had to catch her over the line because you were going to collapse.
Yeah.
I had to tell the paramedic to go away.
Yeah, you just wanted to hug her, really, didn't you?
Can't help myself. Good looking lad.
Yeah. That was quite a nice little moment at the end, wasn't it? We both smashed it. It was the perfect race.
Yeah,
I'm
race.
I'm almost pleased that we were neck and neck with 100 meters to go. I'm not sure what we would have done there.
Well, we would have done what the original London Marathon where they finished together.
Yeah. I couldn't debate whilst I was doing it, so.
We'll be closer together next time, though, I'm sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess we can sort of say what our plans are coming up. I mean, I can anyway. I know you're torn between two things depending on what happens, but so I'm going to target London in autumn. So I'll just straight back into a marathon block once I've recovered from this, and try to take off another couple of minutes and get further up the road.
Yeah, you said before you try and do something different every time. What's that looking like this time? Have you got that out?
Well, working back, I guess altitude training at Fontenoy is going to be the difference. Although we're out for sort of 12 days, so it's not a lengthy time to get massive aerobic adaptations. But I mean, yeah, like bigger mileage.
Going bigger again.
Well, 150-mile weeks as well.
You don't think if you got the same block again, you just did it again because you've had the strength in the last one, that just doing the same again won't improve you? Do you feel like you need to change something?
Definitely. Definitely. I think threshold has the quality of threshold work. Maybe some double threshold days. I mean, I'll be experimenting week to week, so I like to experiment stuff, but like marathon sessions where I'm working quite hard after 20 miles. I mean, not necessarily 20-mile plus marathon pace runs, but sort of stuff like 10 miles easy, 40 miles marathon pace, or some things like that. As I get further in, just to stimulate that last 6 miles. And, we both know we can run 5 dead probably for 16, 18 miles, It's what happens after that, isn't it? We can run the pace of 2:10 marathon. It's about having the strength to carry it out. That's what I'm focused working on.
Yeah, I think that'll be a huge one for me, is actually getting not so much aerobically stronger, but physically stronger, like getting into the gym, just so I have a bit more power, but also to hopefully ward off some injuries this time and niggles. Because I feel like even in this block, if I'd just been way more consistent, being stronger going into it, I think that would have helped. I did try. I was unlucky and got injured right at the beginning of the block, just before it was like properly started. Got injured, had flu, So the whole block just became rehab, which meant other bits of strength
Yeah.
then got injured. But so hopefully this time around, if I go into it, I'll actually be fit, healthy, and strong.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, definitely. That's why it's important to recover from it fully, isn't it? Before you start again.
That's why I've taken my week off, mate.
Exactly. But yeah, like for me as well, nutrition. I'm going to take your nutritional advice. Well, on this next block, I need to sort out my nutrition. Less Greg's, less Costa.
More quinoa, mate.
less bacon sandwiches, less egg rolls and stuff. Yeah, before we move on to sort of getting the guests on, and Maddy and Chris and Lindsey, but do you want to sort of maybe share our visions of the future of what we want in our own running, the lifetime vision? We're talking about this a lot at the club at the moment. And obviously, we're partnered with performance journals and thinking about goal setting as we enter new blocks. Maybe we could give a bit of advice to people on share what our thoughts are.
So it's a difficult one because you want to set something really lofty, but you don't want to set something you think's unachievable or not going to happen. But I think for me at my age, I think doing some kind of representation for Britain and representing the country at a major event, I think that'd be huge and something I really want to do.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, I mean, you're touching on it, so you got a chance of the European 50k champs, right?
Maybe. Like,
Maybe,
I've run the time, I've run
Yeah.
the qualification time, but still a lot of things have to go my way. Like
Yeah.
there are plenty of guys you could just put their name down and chuck me right down the list. But
but you're in with a shout, and I think that's shows what you're capable of, you know.
yeah, I know you've got some pretty lofty goals we've been talking about.
Yeah, I suppose it's more time based, but I mean, sub 210, without a doubt, sub 210, so sub 5 minute miles, 26. Not the maths guy, but yeah, so it's a time based goal, and I guess the Olympic qualifying stands to 11:30 at the moment. So, you know, I quite like going to LA 2028, is it? Brisbane 2032. Paris probably a bit early.
Probably a little bit.
Yeah.
That
That
would
would
be
make some
nice.
massive gains if we did that.
Imagine Olympic marathon day in 25.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't happen unless you're from East Africa, maybe in the mouth.
All called Jake Smith.
I call Jake Smith. Yeah, want to watch for sure in Britain. But yeah, you got to aim high, haven't you? And we don't put ourselves through this much pain to not aim to be the best we can be.
Yeah, you've got to aim high though. Like if you're not aiming high and you're just easily hitting your goals, then you just don't get the same satisfaction out of it. And you don't have
Definitely not.
to actually do it. If you make it easy, then what's the point?
Exactly. And that's what we want everyone in NEP and SCP, South Coast Project, to aspire to be, is to be the best you can be and get out the most of what your environment has to offer. You know, we all have different jobs in the club and different responsibilities and commitments. We all can't devote every hour of the day to training. It's obviously a juggle of different commitments, but you know, our job is to make you as best you can be, given the environment you've got. And yeah, we want people who want to improve, and we're excited to see everyone's journey. I mean, this spring block, we've got all sorts going on. So much success for Manchester, for everyone who raced there. And some stories of people not doing so well, but you know, we'll work on that, and they'll be back for the next goal. They're only hungry for more. We've got Boston to look forward to, you know, in 10 days. Dead excited for that. We've got Edinburgh, a lot of people doing that, as well as the half. I've actually entered the half as well. But yeah, we're going to, what's that? Well,
that's a bold move. I would be going nowhere near that.
Yeah. Yeah, Edinburgh half, but that's about 6 weeks away from this podcast. And we're going to talk soon to Maddy, Lindsey and Chris, and they're going to tell their insights. We've all got different stories to tell. But yeah, Hope you enjoy it. And yeah, let's go for it. Welcome everyone. We're joined here by Maddy Fisher. She's just off the back of Manchester Marathon. She ran a fantastic time, the fastest time for 6 years. Let's go into it. So she ran 3:19.49. And let's talk to her straight away. How are you feeling this week, Maddy, after that epic achievement of the weekend?
Yeah, surprisingly good actually. Yeah, recovered quite well. Just waiting for the next thing now.
Yeah, moving on quickly. That's fantastic that you've recovered that quick after such an effort.
Maybe I didn't try hard enough.
So yeah, like, would you talk us through like what got you into running at the start, Maddy, and then how you ended up approaching marathons?
Yeah, so I never ran as a kid at all. I was the fat kid that got lapped in the 800 meters. This is true. I still have a problem with 800 meters because of that. If I could go back and do something again, I would go back to that 800 meters at Sports Day and absolutely kill it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I kind of started. I joined a gym when I was about sort of early 20s, just with the intention of getting a bit fitter and stuff, and ended up just mostly on the treadmill because I quite enjoyed it, and decided I was going to do a race for life. So I managed a 5k in a very average sort of time. Thought it was okay. Thought I'd do a 10k. Did that. Thought that was all right. Thought I'd do a half marathon, and then decided I was never running again after that one.
Which half marathon was that, Maddy?
It was the Humber Bridge half near Hull.
Right.
So, yeah, pretty flat actually. It shouldn't have put me off quite as much as it did.
Yeah.
But so then we moved up here, up north, and my neighbour runs, so I thought it was a good way to get to know people. So we did a few, and I ended up doing the Sunderland half about a year after we moved up, and really enjoyed it. And at that point thought, time for a marathon. So I went kind of clueless into Kielder, but joined a club at the same time, and the kind of the social side of it really made me interested, and I thoroughly enjoyed doing Kielder. And after that, I kind of got my hands on a training plan that was sort of looking at the different zones and stuff. It was the Fitzinger and Douglas book that sort of talks a lot about training threshold and doing marathon pace runs and stuff. And I took, I think, 45 minutes off my time using that.
Wow.
So I was hooked at that point. The improvement just makes you kind of want to do more, doesn't it?
And you became more interested in the science aspect of it.
Yeah, really interested in all that bit. Yeah.
And that first marathon at Kielder, what time did you run that?
4:20, I think I did.
Yeah. It's not the easiest marathon.
It's not the easiest marathon.
Yeah. That's a good time, though. Yeah, good time for your first marathon.
It was okay, yeah. And I didn't kind of collapse at any point. It was all fairly consistent.
That's a low bar, but we'll take not collapsing.
Yeah.
So, and then you said you improved by 45 minutes. Was that within a short space of time?
That was in just under a year. So
Wow.
It made a big difference, kind of using the science and learning a bit about it.
Yeah, first time on the structured training. So, tell me about what time did you run that marathon, Maddy? This was your second marathon, right?
Yeah, 3:40, I think I did.
Wow. Yeah. Which year was that?
That would have been 2014, I think.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah,
awesome.
And then I took nearly another half an hour off that in the next year. So.
Yeah. So that leads on to your PB.
Yeah.
3:10. Wow.
3:10. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's nice to be back within 10 minutes.
Without a doubt. Was that at London, Maddy, that 3:10? It
was at London, yeah.
Awesome. And what got you into coming back and doing Manchester? Obviously, you joined NEP, was it October, November?
Yeah, I had an absolutely shocking run at London in October last year.
I wasn't going to mention that.
No, I'm not ashamed of it. It was a disaster.
Talk about it now.
And it was a disaster because I got it all wrong. So, yeah. I think I'd not done, since I had my daughter, she's 4.5 now, I'd just not run as well. I hadn't had the time to put into the training and tried to do too many different things. I was trying to do kind of really long distance stuff. And I just didn't have any real focus or plan or anything. Managed to get ill in the week going up to London and set off at my target pace anyway. Got to mile 17, I was like, no, this is not happening. And crawled the last bit.
Yeah. So I guess on your progression, that was like the only time you've actually took a step back in marathon progression.
Yeah.
You ran 3:14. Was it in 2016?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, 3:10 was 2016. So yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. And you had a few years, and that was your first marathon back.
The first
having kids.
decent one, yeah. I mean, I did Edinburgh a couple of years ago.
Right.
Did an okay time, but still faded kind of towards the end. So.
Yeah. So let's focus on Manchester, Maddy. So it's race morning. How's your body feeling on race morning at Manchester?
Stuffed.
Have you got?
Can't blame it. It's not my favourite. But yeah, I was really calm. Actually, I was quite focused. I was really I think I just knew what I could do, and I knew what I was going to do, and I had a plan that I was definitely going to stick to. Yeah. It just felt really kind of focused and okay.
Yeah. I suppose that you had a really strong build up. With some good key sessions and going back to your marathon pace stuff and your threshold stuff, and obviously you ran a marathon at the 4 parks, one leg. Some great navigation skills in that last 6 miles.
That was interesting.
And you ran 3:55 then. Yeah. Was that a good confidence boost to run the distance 4 weeks out?
Less so than the final marathon pace session, actually, because I think whichever way you look at it, it's a long way to do a marathon. So I think I found it hard in the end stages and thought, oh gosh, that's quite slow compared to what I'd like to do. But yeah, then I did the last kind of long marathon pace session, and that absolutely went perfectly. So I felt really confident after that one.
Yeah. Would you mind telling us how far you went in the marathon pace in that session?
I think it was about 15 miles in total,
but
kind of spread across the thing. So it was a 20-mile run with about 15 of that marathon pace.
Yeah. That's sort of a classic peak workout in the marathon block, isn't it? I guess some stuff that me and Will's done as well.
It was a mental workout as well, because there was a really random bit in the middle with threshold and slightly slower alternating and things as well.
Yeah, well, it wasn't just marathon pace, was it? It was alternating,
I had to, couldn't be thinking about the running. I was too busy concentrating on what I was meant to be doing.
Yeah. You've almost done the hardest bit in the training, and the race becomes easy. Yeah. So let's talk through the race, Maddy. Describe the first few miles. Were there any bad patches in the race? Were you able to work through it, or was it plain sailing all the way through?
Sorry to be smug about this, but actually I felt really comfortable nearly all the way through. The first few miles was just kind of settle into it. Don't do anything stupid, just settle down. Managed to see my family, I think, 4 times across the route, which was really good. The 4th one was a surprise because I thought they were just going to be at a couple of them. And that was really good. That really helped, kind of just that mental boost. I quite liked the route because it was kind of out and back, and there was some times when you saw other people, and I quite enjoyed that bit. There was one kind of little patch where sort of out towards Altrincham where there was a bit of a hill, and that was a slightly kind of right, okay, keep going, keep plodding.
I'm talking about mile 15, is it?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. But yeah, that section was slightly harder. But I think I got to 17, which is where I'd felt so awful at London the year before, and felt really good. So it was like, yeah, that's the moment that it kind of all clicked, and I thought, yeah, I'm going to do this.
That must have been a really big mental boost for you to get past that kind of barrier to then push on from.
Yeah, it was. I think I sped up that next couple of miles as well, so that was possibly a little bit early to do that because the last 3 were a bit harder. But
And as you were approaching mile 17, were you thinking about full start in London? Were you thinking it could blow up, it could happen again?
Not really. I was kind of tuning in and going, well, how do I feel? Do I feel okay? But actually, I'd kind of, from halfway, I'd flicked across to just the lap button on my watch thing, and I was just focusing on each mile at a time. So I wasn't particularly thinking about anything other than that. And then counting backwards. So
backwards, interesting.
Halfway. So,
isn't that what Paula does? I think she starts from 100.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Until she forgets she's counting and the pain's gone. So apparently.
See, it's good enough for her.
Exactly.
I'm not sure I could focus and actually count backwards. I don't think I've got the mental capacity. Can't do that when I'm not running, never mind when I am running marathon pace. So it was quite plain sailing. But you said the last 3 miles was quite tough as you approach the finish.
It's always hard at the end, but yeah, I think getting to 23, feeling okay. You can put up with anything for 20 minutes, can't you? Really?
I guess so. It's quite a straight road back in as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it was.
It feels uphill in some ways. And when you crossed the line, Maddy, how did you feel? What's that instant feeling?
Yeah, well, yeah, really pleased, but again, quite calmly and not really surprised, because I think I just knew exactly where I was, and then to do that, it's like, yeah, I'm really happy about this. But it just felt right. It just felt like I felt like being me again, to be honest, because I felt not quite like me as a runner for a long time, and it was really good to just know and be certain of where I was.
That's fantastic to hear. Yeah. It's quite a turnaround in a year's time. Almost take an hour off your marathon.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Total transformation. If anything, not just physically but mentally. Was there anything you did to celebrate straight after or night off?
Pint.
Pint.
It might have been two.
Might have been two. That's two more than Will.
What a mates, mate. So.
Yeah. Brilliant. So after that success, Maddy, has it inspired you to start thinking ahead? Have you been thinking ahead this week of what might be next?
Yeah, so I'm back on the trails for a bit now, actually. I've entered Lakeland 50, so I'm going to be doing that in July. And then after that,
50 miles?
Yeah. So, yeah, very different. I need to get really strong for that one.
Why?
Why?
It hurts from 17 miles. That's another, 33?
Yeah, I did it last year and had a fairly ambitious target, which I realised halfway through was ridiculously ambitious, but possibly might not be out of reach this time. So I think I really want to have a good crack at it and stop faffing at checkpoints and stop being pathetic about stones and get on with it.
Brilliant.
So that's the summer, and then back to marathon, I think, after that, back to London next year.
Yeah. I was in London in 2023.
Yes.
Yeah. No autumn marathon on the cards.
Don't tempt me. I don't like the summer training, so I like the winter grind.
Yeah. You might need to stick one in there. Don't know.
Don't.
To have to see how the recovery goes after 50 miles.
Yeah.
But that's another target. Have you got any other races throughout the rest of the year that you know is penciled in?
The only other one is Endure 24 with a team. So yeah, there's a few of us that we were first ladies team last year, so we're going to give that this year.
Got a
might
title
have the rise on the record this time.
Yeah. Is that quite close to the 50 as well? Or?
It's about 3 weeks out, so it should be all right.
3 weeks before? Or yeah.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a training session.
Yeah, it's long intervals, isn't it?
Basically. Yeah, just 5 mile intervals, no problem.
Yeah. No more complaining about marathon specific anymore. After doing that. Brilliant. Last question, Maddy. We're going to ask everyone who comes on about this next season, but who's your favourite athlete and why? Could be past or present.
This was really, really hard because there are sort of bits of things that I've taken from lots of different people. My immediate reaction was Jo Pavey, just because she's been so good for so long and she's just got that consistency and she's done it for a really, really long time. And I would love to still be sort of fairly decent 20 years into running.
Yeah, unbelievable athlete. Was it the European gold she won in her 40s?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Is that over 10,000 meters, I think, on track?
Yeah, this is like 40 or something.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I remember watching that and being very inspired.
Yeah. It's inspiration as well that she can have a kid and then come back and do that as well. But it must be a massive life change.
Yeah, you're proving that, Maddy. You're proving it. Have you got ambitions to take out that PB at some point now? Are you feeling confident for it?
I think it might have to go.
It might have to go. Brilliant.
Yeah, ultimately I'd like a sub 3 one day.
Yeah. Amazing vision to have, yeah. I suppose further on you start knocking on the door of England Master Best and stuff as you move through the age groups as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Always a good incentive, isn't it? Especially if you're in those times. Awesome, Maddy. I appreciate you coming on, telling your story. I hope people are inspired by it. We can go out to achieve their dreams too. Thanks a lot, Maddy. Thank you for coming on.
And thanks for your coaching.
No worries. We're joined here by Ambassador Lindsey Blackburn, and we're going to talk about a journey to the Boston Marathon, which is taking on in 1 week time. She's been on some journey throughout before NEP and throughout NEP. So we've got her on the show. How you doing, Lindsey?
I'm really good. Thanks for having me on.
Our pleasure, Lindsey. You've got quite a story to tell. Could you just tell us what got you into running and how that journey started?
Well, I think it's fair to say that I've always been into sport, always active from a young age, right the way through school. I've done quite a bit of running. But I've got to admit, football is my first love. Probably not the right podcast to be on, but yeah. So it was football. Even into adulthood, set up a women's football team, which I captained for a couple of years. But I actually got into running properly after an illness that I had. So at the age of 22, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a type of blood cancer. I underwent treatment. It knocked me really how much the treatment affected me fitness wise. So in between treatments, I took up running as a way to, I suppose, build fitness and aid my recovery. Done a few charity runs, tried to raise some money and awareness. But it was when the cancer came back for the third time, and doctors told me that my only chance of cure was to find a donor stem cell. Yeah, I had the stem cell transplant, and then from there, someone told me that I could now compete at the British Transplant Games. So when I was discharged from hospital in 2019, I sort of thought, I want to do something for me. I want to see what my body's capable of now that I've, endured all that treatment. I've been given this second chance of life, so what can I do? So I entered the games, and that's when I joined NEP. So I guess I've started running since 2020.
Yeah, I remember those early days. I mean, you were the first person on an official NEP training plan, or if we could even call it that. It was an Excel spreadsheet with things on it.
Yeah.
And the first 1-to-1 came about just before COVID hit. And then I guess you were the first person we were actually training throughout COVID virtually, and then that first 1-to-1 we were out to meet up with one other person. But yeah, I mean, an amazing journey, Lindsey. What do you think you could take from, so like has all that difficulty that you've been through sort of provided more motivation and focus to put towards the sport?
Yeah, so I think enduring what I have, illness wise, going through treatment, being told that the cancer's returned, going through more treatment, I think that it's definitely made me resilient, and I think that's like something that I've taken into running. Any setbacks that I've had, it's sort of that bounce back mentality. We get knocked down, but can we come back from it? And I think because I've always been active, this is kind of like a new challenge, if you like. So it's kind of like a group that you sort of, nobody wants to be eligible for the transplant games, but because I am, I'm kind of saying, right, that I'm going to represent those transplant athletes, ensure that there is life after cancer, and not just after cancer, but in sort of any adverse sort of circumstances that people have been through. There's only really you stopping yourself from achieving, and those goals will be different for everyone. Not everybody's going to compete in transplant games or run marathons, but whatever that goal is, it can be achieved.
So obviously the journey to the British Transplant Games, I mean, it hasn't been the most plain sailing thing. Obviously it's been kicked back and delayed with COVID, and obviously you've encountered a few injuries along the way since you started NEP. Do you want to share sort of how your journey's been for the last 3 years as we approach the British Transplant Games this summer?
Yeah, so the British Transplant Games was postponed twice due to COVID for obvious reasons. But that was always my ultimate goal. When I first started with the club, I think it was a few months in, and I sustained a stress fracture of the shin. Probably just not used to the training load, really.
I remember us trying to work out what it was.
Yeah.
We were forcing through a few sessions, weren't we?
Yeah. And then I couldn't hop, could I? I was just like, no, I can't do that. But I really stuck in at the S&C and the cross training stuff, and that I think I probably came back from that quite. It didn't feel quick at the time, but quicker than probably would have been expected. But I really did. I done every Zoom session. I bought an exercise bike. So I really, I moved my focus. I couldn't run, so my focus shifted to what I could do. So that was tough. It was particularly tough because then we started moving into summer, and I think there was more members joining. There was the odd occasion where you could do sort of events in certain numbers, and I could see that through social media and things, and that's always tough when you're out with an injury, is watching other people involved and things sort of progressing and growing around you, and you sort of can't sort of get involved in that. Sort of had a really good strong period at the beginning of 21. Was starting to sort of run some good times around the 5k and the 10k. I'd done a good 5-mile run as well. And then in the June, I think, I sustained a stress fracture in my foot. And that put me out for some time. So yeah, it's just one of those things. Probably an overload injury. Not quite sure what happened there, but again, just slowly working on things that I could do. And then came back from that, and then had ongoing back issues, which potentially can always be linked back to sort of the treatment I've had. I'm always quite open and honest about my illness. More than anything, I want to raise awareness, but treatment put me into an early menopause, which means I now take hormone replacement treatment. So there's always sort of observations around my bone density and things like that. So I've had to have some bone density scans to make sure that it's not, weakness of the bones that's causing these injuries, or whether I'm going to be prone to these injuries. And it's just making sure that it's trial and error with the sort of hormone treatments that I'm on, that we get the right balance to give my body that whole protection. But I also think, going back to the whole plan is the strength and conditioning, particularly the sort of the squats and overloading with weight is something that's recommended for that reason. Women going through menopause, becoming of a certain age, it's good to keep those bones strong. So the S&C we talk about as a club, we really promote it, but there's massive benefits to it.
Yeah, I mean, let's sort of touch on the cycle we're in right now. Since December, obviously the club went through quite a lot of changes in terms of structure, in terms of like the services we were given. Like we went big into the heavy S&C, which you talk about, but then maybe talk about like how reshaping the structure helped you just to progress week on week and overload in a safe manner.
Yeah, so I mean, it's fair to say that the end of last year I was stuck in a bit of a rut. I didn't really have any sort of short-term goals other than the games that are coming up this summer. And the sort of back-to-back injuries, not really doing much running. I did approaches and say, something's got to change. We've got to look at my plan. I don't feel like I'm getting the best out of it. And I think that's the good thing about the club, is that we've got that coach-athlete relationship where things aren't working, we can sit down and talk about it, and we're willing to change and look at ways in which we can improve. So, I give my suggestions, and you supported me on that, and we've just changed the structure of my plan. And I think the first thing was to start off with looking at some short-term goals. So we had the Hartlepool Park run as a 5k benchmark, and we're going back. I think that was like 6 weeks into the new training block. And then we've done Northumberland half marathon, which I got a 12-minute PB.
Awesome.
And then obviously the focus being the marathon. And for me, it was about the training more than sort of going for a goal time. It was, if I could sustain that sort of training, would that make me better physically and mentally as an overall runner? Plus, it would give me that good base mileage to move, into the games. But what I found worked for me was picking set days to have my main sessions. So we looked at moving me into the, what was the ladies group on a Tuesday evening, and then going in straight into the gym afterwards, whether that be at the gym in Billingham or the one at Sports Village, and so straight from the session into the gym, following the personalised S&C plan that you had set, and then again having my usual one-to-one on a Thursday, again whether that be track or somewhere else, and then going straight to the gym, so that I felt like I knew where my main sessions were week on week, and I was getting that S&C in at the same time. So although there were like longer days, if you like, they were ticked off. And then for me, around work and family life, it was just a case of moving those easier runs and other sessions in the week where it fit me. So if it meant doing it on a morning and getting it done before work, or doing it late at night, that it's worked, and I think, like I said, the half marathon 12-minute PB just shows that.
And that's going from Liverpool half, isn't it? In October, was it? So that's in the space of 4 months. It took 12 minutes off a half marathon. Pretty mental. Some people work years for that. I think there's something to be said about keeping your hard days hard and easy days easy. Certainly something that I think me and Will are doing in our training as well.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that, Will?
Absolutely, yeah. If you're not keeping your easy days easy, it's just giving yourself an injury risk, and you're not recovering well enough to have those quality sessions. So you're doing the right thing. Would you, obviously the marathon training itself then just like it's enabled you to be better at other distances as well. I think a lot of runners can experience that across the community. And you said it's give you even more mental resilience to tackle challenges. So what inspired you to do Boston Marathon? So we're talking about the one in the UK here, for anyone who doesn't know, but what inspired you to do a marathon as such?
Do you know, I'm still asking myself that question. I think it was the black vest with the gold one. I really wanted that. And then I didn't think about anything after that. And then I was like, damn, I forgot.
To be honest.
I think it was, like I said, back end of last year, I was a bit stuck in a rut. I need some short-term goals, and I was just browsing around through events that were coming up that would give me enough time to train for it, a decent amount of time to train, but also give me enough time to switch to the games, and prep for that.
So which events are you doing at the games, Lindsey?
So I'll be doing the 3k road race and the 1500 meters, and then for a bit of fun, I'll be doing the 4x 100 meter relay.
Nice. So it's almost acting like a base phase, I guess, into the summer.
So it was just, I'd seen a marathon and I thought, sometimes I don't always do things by halves, as you know from my coast to coast. But I just seen marathon. I was like, could I do a marathon? Have I got enough time to do a marathon? And I think what's even more crazy is when my plan started, I've literally had 15 weeks to train.
Yeah.
So it was all in. So it was all or nothing. So, but it was more that of building up that sort of base, that foundation of mileage. Yeah.
I suppose you have run a marathon over mountains before, right? Don't you? Do you want to tell people about that experience on the coast to coast?
Yeah, don't do it.
Oh, we're supposed to do it this year.
Yeah, so it should have been, so last year when we did the coast to coast, it should have been the transplant games that weekend. So I wanted to mark it by doing something special. So I decided to raise money for a local charity that supports girls with their self-esteem. And the idea was to see how far or how much of the coast to coast I could actually do over the weekend. But it happened to be like the worst conditions, with storms and rain and everything in between. I've got no sense of direction, so you can imagine I got lost. But I did manage, I think it was 83 miles.
Across for a weekend?
3 days, 2 days. Yeah.
So yeah, I can just about. Would I do it again? I think there's a couple of legs I would do again, but yeah, I think I'm still getting over the trauma of being stuck in a storm on Honister Pass, thinking that my life was over.
Yeah, it was a scary moment, to be honest. I remember being about, I don't know, maybe 50 miles down the road with other legs, and then getting calls saying that you and Zoe still hadn't been seen, and it was 6 o'clock and you set off at 9 in the morning. Yeah, pretty mental.
But when you live to tell the tale, it's a great
Fine.
story.
Yeah, it's fine. An epic relays. So going back to Boston, have you got a goal, a time goal that you'd like to share, or a range maybe that you'd be pleased with?
Yeah, so like I said, when we started, I genuinely didn't have a time in mind. It was literally do the distance. Then I kept having 4 hours in my head. But after some fairly decent long runs, I took part in. I done 18 miles of the 4 parks, 1 lake challenge. I was pretty pleased with the time on that, and I'd done a 20-mile run. So I'm thinking, with the confidence that I've sort of got in my running at the minute, it's kind of how far under 4 can I get? Yeah. It's kind of what I'm looking at.
Yeah, I think you're going to smash.
So I was just thinking, if you don't really have a set goal in mind, how are you going to pace your race? Have you got any plans? You're just going to go off feel, see what happens?
Yeah, I think off feel. I think the key for me is not to go out too fast, which is usually a mistake I make. But I am quite good at sort of reining it back in once I know that I think this is a bit too fast. So yeah, I've been running a lot off feel lately, still wearing a watch, maybe it's glancing, but trying to just, if I feel good, it's good. So yeah, I'm probably just going to run like that. I feel run with my heart.
Oh, I like it.
We've had practice now.
You're really selling this. Yeah, I think it looks like your sessions you tend to run a bit faster than what you want to anyway, so it's heading that way. Definitely heading that way. No, we're fully behind you. Moving on to the British Transplant Games, where's it at and when's it taking place?
Yeah, so it's going to be in Leeds at the end of July. So last weekend in July, I think it starts on the 28th through to the 31st. My events are on the weekend, so the last weekend in July.
Yeah, and is it an event each day you're doing?
Yeah, so 3K road race on Saturday. I think it's an evening race, and then it's track day on Sunday. I'm not sure what time my event is yet because that hasn't been released, but yeah, it's like sort of final days on the track.
Have you got like a preferred event that you're really going to target, or is it more of a case of just trying to be the best you can be across them all?
I think I'd like to be the best I can be across both. But I think I'll probably decide more when we switch the training to the short stuff, and when I get a real feel of the events in the training as to what I'm most likely to go for, if any.
Yeah. Have you got some targets that is going to say, well, you could be at this certain position in the games? Have you got any goals in mind for what you want to achieve out of it?
When I first entered, obviously being a sort of a fun runner, if you like, doing runs for charity, I wanted to go with I didn't want to just make up the numbers, come in like, last and just, I wanted to sort of challenge, which is why I joined NEP, which is why I, enlisted help of coaches. But I think my confidence has grown that I'm even thinking, is it possible to make a podium? What people might not know, because some people don't know that the Transplant Games exists, but the Transplant Games, there's a world body, so there's a GB team, and I've been made aware that this year there's actually a European Transplant Games, and it's on home turf. It's taking place in Oxford in August. So my goal is to I want to be Team GB. So that's a goal, and there's the World Transplant Games taking place next April in Australia. So, if I can make Team GB, represent the country, flying the flag, yeah, that's the ultimate goal. So I want to do as best I can so that I can, make Team GB and fly that flag and represent all those, who've had organ transplants or stem cell transplants, and really promote that, sport's still an option when you've had treatment, and it's also a way of thanking donors and the families for that second chance of life, really.
Yeah, it's pretty inspirational, isn't it?
You told me to keep the GB aspirations under wraps. You told me not to tell anybody, but then you just called it out. So
I don't tell anybody.
It's the taking the way it's set up, and I think how you progress throughout this last sort of 4 months. If you keep progressing in the same cycles, where obviously to the cycle after this to the games, and then hopefully make the Europeans, and then the world's the long way after that, and you could be a completely different person by then. Yeah, very exciting. One to watch for everyone, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Moving on to the last question, Lindsey. I think I prepared you for it, but who's your favourite athlete, past or present, and why?
It's a very good question. It's a difficult question, this. So I don't have one in particular. So I like sort of relatable role models. So I mean, over the years, I've been a big fan of Kelly Holmes, Paula Radcliffe, icon. I even have a real respect for the likes of Joe Pavey, who won a gold medal at the age of 40 after not long having a second child and training on a treadmill in the downstairs cupboard. They're relatable role models. You think, yeah, they're balancing everything. But I'm a big fan at the minute of Eilish McColgan.
Mm-hmm.
I think I like the fact that she's sort of moves through the distances she's done, which is kind of the sort of athlete that I want to be. I want to be more longer distance in the autumn, winter, and then the short stuff. And yeah, she's a really good role model for women, particularly talking about women and the different issues and the different sort of cycles that women go through, and very much promotes that, which is really good. And she's made some fantastic progress over the last year or so. So yeah, can't give you just one, but
yeah, you've named some inspiring ones over the different stories. The likes of Kelly Holmes, obviously the comeback she made and the stress fractures and all that, making it later in life and stuff. And yeah, Eilish is a fantastic athlete in the present, making strides. And who knows what she's going to go on to do, because I think she's just getting started by the looks of it. Awesome. Appreciate you sharing your story, Lindsey. And I hope we're all feeling very inspired. Got to keep out and see what Lindsey does at Boston. And yeah, onto the British Transplant Games and whatever else is to come. We'll bring it on. Thank you, Lindsey.
Thank you.
Woo!